Hello, hello, and welcome to mission number 1. And we're going to talk about what type of swim equipment is needed. I am Jen Rulon from jenrulon.com and Rulon Racing, and I am here to truly help you all get to the finish line with a smile. So let's talk about some swim equipment that is needed for your triathlon journey. We're going to go over the basics. We're going to go over your ideal equipment, and then we're going to go over optional equipment. The basics. You're going to need a swimsuit, please, goggles, and possibly a swim cap. So let's break down each of those basic equipments that you will need on these next slides. So a men's swimsuit. We're going to talk about the men's swimsuit. So currently, you're looking at two styles of swimsuits. You're looking at what I call a banana hammock over to your left, and then you're looking at Zoomers to your right. As men triathletes, I want you to pick out what's going to be comfortable for you. We want to be very streamlined, so we don't want baggy shorts. We don't want board shorts. We don't want Lululemon shorts. We do need to have that streamlined swimsuit. Same with the women's swimsuit. We have a 2-piece and then we have a 1-piece. Once again, it is all based on your comfortability and what you feel best suited for you. Now, these are Roka swimsuits, but there's plenty of swimsuits out there, from Tier, TYR, to Speedo, to many more other swimsuit companies out there for racing a triathlon. Next off is your swim cap and your goggles. Now let's talk briefly about swim cap, because you don't technically need to wear a swim cap in a pool, but if you are a woman and you got a lot of hair, it's so much easier to put all that hair in that swim cap. And then if you are a guy with a lot of hair, I suggest the same thing. Put a swim cap on. It is definitely going to be a little bit more streamlined. Now, if you do go into the open water, I highly suggest you wear a swim cap and make sure that swim cap is bright. You will get a swim cap for races. Now, goggles are a little different because they are almost like putting on glasses. You have to figure out what goggle is going to be best for you. My favorite Roka goggles are the R1. Another type of goggle that I like is the Tier Race Tech. The Roka is a little bit more expensive. The Tier is mid pricing, but once again, you go into a swim shop or go online and see what best suits you for your face. So those are the basic equipment needs that you will need to start your triathlon journey. Now let's talk about the ideal equipment. And this is going to be more for getting in the pool and really focusing on your drill workouts. So we're going to talk a little bit briefly about the ideal equipment, and then we'll go into the depth in the next few slides. You're going to want to look at getting some fins. You're going to want to look at getting some paddles. You're also going to want to look at getting a pull buoy and possibly a kickboard. But the great thing about kickboards is that generally you will see them around the pool no matter where you swim. So fins, let's talk about fins. Training with fins will allow you to develop a better feel for the water. So good swimmers generally talk about how important it is for the feel of the water. It is essential to really have that feel of kicking. And so using fins for kicking will help triathletes also get that feel of the water. But here's the thing about this type of equipment. We don't want to rely so much on the fins. The fins can develop a pattern of your race pace or higher speeds of swimming. Sometimes I'll have my athletes go and do a maybe 3x100 at a race pace with fins so they can actually feel what it's going to feel like when you're out in the open water. If you notice, these Roka ones are shorter than these. If you are a newbie, let's look at getting a little bit longer fin, but not a scuba fin. And if you're a little bit more advanced, I would say look at getting a shorter fin. Another good example of short fins are called zoomers. Let's talk about hand paddles. Now, I truly love hand paddles because it can really create improvement of power and the feel of the water. But if you use the paddles incorrectly, or you're using them too much, or the paddles are too big, you may be headed to shoulder soreness and some potential shoulder injuries. So paddles is all about learning the importance of using the whole arm versus then using the hand. So my favorite paddles are the fins, and you could find these in their fins agility paddles. You can find those on Amazon. You can also head to Roka or Swim Outlet to find a variety of paddles. But here's the thing about paddles. You have to make sure that it fits your hands, because I have seen athletes get too big of a paddle, and then that's where the shoulder, the rotator cuff injuries come about. So paddles are a great tool to use on occasion. Pull buoy and kickboard. So let's talk about the pull buoy. Now, the pull buoy is a basic swim equipment to really improve a swimmer's power. So the buoy is typically held between the thighs to float the hips and legs at the surface, very similar to a wetsuit. The action of the swimming with the buoy is called pulling because only the arms are used for forward momentum. So you can use a pull buoy standalone, but you could also use the pull buoy with your paddles. Triathletes can benefit from using a pull buoy with or without hand paddles to increase their arm strength and their upper body power. Now, a kickboard is great for kicking. So if you are not comfortable maybe doing underwater kicking with the fins or without breathing, you could always use a kickboard. So all you have to do is take that kickboard, put it straight out in front of you, lay on your belly, and start kicking away. And that's really going to show you how you kick, whether you're kicking at the hip or you're starting to kick at the knee. And that is something we don't want you guys to do. Let's talk about optional equipment. So we're going to talk about a band, we're going to talk about the wetsuits, and we're going to talk about the swim skins. So let's show what a band looks like. Now, the bands have been really popular these days for triathletes to use, but here's the thing. The band, if overused, once again, will cause injury. And with the band, you generally want to do the band occasionally, maybe 4x50s. You don't want to use the band a lot. So you could go out and buy a band from Roka, or you could use an old tire tube and just cut it up and then tie it around your ankles. So the band, it forces you on your technique and improves your rhythm and your timing and your stroke rate. And it also helps with upper body strength. Another thing that a band will do will help develop better sprinting abilities. Because what happens when you put that band around your ankle, guess what happens? Your whole lower body sinks because you don't have that ability to kick. I always think about a seahorse when I see myself or somebody using a band because their whole lower body sinks and you're still trying to get through that water with that upper body. So really be mindful with the band. The band's a great tool, but only use it on occasion. This famous wetsuit question. Do I need a wetsuit? Now, it truly depends on what type of water you're going to be swimming in and how cold it is, if it's too warm, and if you're doing a triathlon in a pool. So here's the thing. Yes and no. A wetsuit is great for open water swimming, especially when it's a little bit chillier. But if you're a much better swimmer without a wetsuit, like you are stellar, let's say you're the Michael Phelps of swimming, I would not suggest using a wetsuit. I would say, you know what? I think you're good. Why don't you just go out there and sort of rock that swim? And he would probably take, maybe not Michael Phelps in general, but there are some athletes that struggle taking the wetsuit off and they lose that time that they gained during that swim. So here over to your left, you'll see a sleeveless wetsuit, and that's a men's. And then over to your right, you'll see a full body wetsuit. While the sleeveless wetsuits are great, if you want true buoyancy, guess what? Go with that full body wetsuit. Last but not least, let's talk about swim skins. Now, a lot of athletes will ask, well, if it's not wetsuit legal, why do I need to go out and buy a swim skin? If you are doing a half Ironman or an Ironman distance and it's a non-wetsuit swim, that is a long time for an athlete to be in their triathlon kit. So my suggestion is if you're going to do a little bit longer than a sprint distance triathlon, Olympic distance, half Ironman, or an Ironman, a swim skin will be your friend. Yes, that skin keeps everything in and will keep also your kits in. Everything you can imagine, it is so tight and sometimes uncomfortable that it will truly be helpful for you to be more streamlined. So that is the equipment that is needed for swimming. You have your basic equipment, then you have your ideal equipment, and then you have your optional equipment. If you have any questions, this is where you will ask the community. The community will help you out. I will jump in there at least once a week to start seeing what questions are being asked regarding the swim equipment. Have an amazing day, and we'll talk to you guys on the next slide.